bet on yourself. As long as it's something you really want to do, go for it.
Why, hello. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter, founder and podcast producer at Max Podcasting. And you can email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 212, and today's guest is Gogie Padilla. She is the founder and CEO of Answer Sure, a business based around something so many of us have experienced, spam calls, robocalls, all sorts of people that are trying to hack you through the phone and other means as well. But she has a really, really cool story around her business and has our backs. So we will get to Gogie in a bit, but I do want to start this episode off a little bit different than usual, and at the time of this recording is maybe the most bittersweet time in my life. At the time of this recording, my grandpa Fred recently passed away, and a few days after I'm recording this, Dana and I are getting married. So it's a crazy stretch of big life moments and just down and ups in terms of emotions, but more on the wedding in a little bit. But I do want to start off by paying respects to Grandpa Fred, as we'll all miss him greatly. He was just absolutely wonderful man, and I could speak about him forever, pun intended, as you'll see. But we thought it best to actually play the eulogy that my father, Greg, read at Fred's funeral. And big thanks to the wonderful people at Scott Funeral Home for providing this, and huge thanks to my dad as well. Here we go. This is a little bit about Fred's life as told by his son and my dad, Greg Brandstetter.
I've never heard anyone say a bad word about my dad. Imagine that. 60 years, hundreds of events, thousands of people, not one single bad word about Fred. He was quite simply a nice guy, which is much harder to achieve and maintain than it appears. He was filled with an old-time country wisdom that he shared with us through his story and his actions his entire life. Among the many gifts that he passed on to us kids and grandkids are positive thinking, a strong work ethic, the belief that you are responsible for your life, the ability to walk into a room full of strangers and start a conversation with anyone. How to find humor in almost any situation, and most importantly, how to treat people well. He was funny, with the ability to turn even the smallest, most random story into a humorous tale with his way of talking. He used dozens of phrases, many of which I've already used today, which we call Fredisms. Some of the favorites were, if you're waiting on me, you're losing time. Don't stick beans up your nose. And my favorite, when excited, he would say, well, saw my legs off and call me Shorty. As a child with depression, growing up on a family farm with 9 brothers and sisters, Fred had to learn early how to make the best out of whatever was available. He was constantly devising creative ways to fix things around the house as we grew up. We called this Fred rigging, and it usually involved some combination of a rubber band, ice pick, paper clips, and the beloved duct tape. Fred loved sports, as you can see over here and on the pictures, especially basketball and baseball. Played basketball for New Washington High School and later loved to play with us in the side yard around the world with the neighborhood kids, where he taught us all his classic set shot. He attended Jeff High basketball games for more than 50 years, both home and away, followed the Red Devils on their tournament trail many, many years, and I think back as an adult, like how this guy stood on his feet in the factory 40 hours during the week. But when Friday afternoon came and there was a Jeff High game, he was filled with energy. Couldn't wait to get there. He even watched half the JV game most of the time. Would have gone to all of it if Barb would let him, but that was pushing too much. He was an avid Cincinnati Reds fan with dozens of trips to watch games at 3 different Cincy ballparks over the years. And the Reds on TV and radio was a constant fixture in our life, as later was watching IU basketball. Mr. B, as he was known, was a Little League coach for several years. Several of his former players showed up here this weekend. He was competitive, but not too much, and he always made sure the experience was fun for everyone. Later, he always loved it when he'd run into some of his former players and hear him share stories about the old days and learn about what was new in their life. As a coach, he impacted a lot of people in ways we never knew. I recently was told a story by one of his former players who said in the middle of the game, my dad called timeout and walked to the mound to change pitchers. While this was going on, a base runner from the other team is talking to Fred's second baseman, and he said, "Man, you're so lucky to play for Mr. Brandstetter." The love of his life, Barb, who's pictured right there. They enjoyed 60 years of marriage, a rich, full life filled with family, friends, travel, and lots of laughter. Even at the end, when dementia and Alzheimer's had ravaged them both, a memory care nurse referred to them as 2 peas in a pod. Their courtship was kind of like a 1950s movie. It started out with young Fred driving around in a sharp new car downtown Louisville trying to catch the eye of the young ladies. Then Fred went into the Blue Boar cafeteria where my mom worked as the supervisor of waitresses for his daily slice of pie. After a few days, Barb, who knew of him, said to the waitress, "I'll take this. I got this guy." So she started serving his pie. And he would go back there every day for a week. And every day she'd do it and bring a slightly larger piece of pie. Which he later told us, he said, "I knew she's kind of sweet on me." So he asked her out, and that was the start of a beautiful 60 years together. You know, none of us are perfect. Despite his generally positive nature, Fred was not effusive with his praise. But he tried. In fact, he told us at one time when he was dating, he struggled to come up with something nice to say to his date. And all he could find was, "You sure don't sweat much for a fat girl." We could go on for hours with little Fred stories, but we're not able to do that here. I want to talk a little bit about the last few years, his Alzheimer's journey, where this horrible disease robbed him of pretty much everything except his ability to make others smile and laugh. This disease eventually forced this self-reliant man to become totally dependent on his caregivers to assist with every aspect of his life. And yet, he retained a positive attitude. In the last year, when asked how he was doing, Fred would give a slight smile and say, "Just plugging along." He continued to impact others all the way to the very end. All of us kids were amazed in the past week to see how much his decline and eventual death affected those who took care of him in Autumn Woods. They said he was like family to them, and they called him nicknames like Freddie Blue Eyes. The hospice chaplain, who actually stopped by here earlier today and only met with Fred a few times near the end, said, quote, "Your dad always reflected the persona of a perfect gentleman." As a father, he gave us steady guidance and support. He allowed us to do our own thing, even when that meant we made some mistakes along the way. And he was always very proud of whatever we achieved. He will always be with us in memories and part of our souls and daily life. This easygoing farmer and factory worker created a world where his children and grandchildren would grow to become lawyers, doctors, business owners, school teachers. I'll finish with a brief tribute to his hard years of work in International Harvester. But he'd tell us that he'd walk past his co-workers at their machines and they'd shout, "How's it going, Fred?" And he'd give them a special hand gesture he called the Harvester way, which meant that everything is groovy. So to you, Dad, I say on behalf of all of us, we love you, and we'll see you later.
Harvester Wave forever. Love you, Freddie. Love you, Dad. Thank you for reading that. Thank you to the amazing people at Scott Funeral Home for providing that. And if you're intrigued by Fred's life and would like to learn a little bit more, my dad actually recorded a whole separate podcast called Forever Fred. So there are a bunch of different chapters, a bunch of different episodes about different phases of Fred's life, ranging from the early years to family trips, all sorts of different sports. And it is an incredible listen. You'll especially appreciate it if you're part of our family. But I think even if we aren't technically related, you might find it interesting as well. And I gotta say it's pretty well done. So check out Forever Fred wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. Now let's switch it up just a bit and get to today's amazing, awesome guest, Gogie Padilla. Answer sure. It is Gogie. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Gogie Padilla, the creator of Answer Sure, a business based around something that I think everybody has experienced in some sense in their life, being attempted scammed or spam calls, robocalls, everything in that category that it's just so fun to deal with. So Gogie, thank you so much, one, for starting your business, but also for joining us here today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And before we get into it, I do want to shout out our mutual buddy, Lisa Ascalise, aka The Inventress, who's been on my show before. I know you've been on her show before, and we've all collaborated with her in a number of ways. But she's just awesome and one of my favorite people in the world. And she actually connected us in the first place. So shout out Lisa and shout out The Inventress, who is the same person, but
Absolutely.
So we're gonna get to the Answer Sure story, and surely we will. But before that, I'm curious, what was the incident, like the straw that broke the camel's back in your life or your family's life in terms of attempted scam calls or attempts?
In 2019, my mom was almost a victim of a scam. This scammer was so bold as he actually came to her front door in the guise of her bank's representative. And also with the tale of picking up her defective bank card that he needed to retrieve to take back to the bank. After that happened, again, fortunately, she was not a victim. However, that was too close for comfort for myself and my siblings. So we went in a hunt, in search of a device or service that would create a barrier. I was looking for a barrier so that we could protect our mother.
I mean, it's alarming. It's scary just when it happens over phone or email or communication like that. But actually, showing up at the front door, like, that takes on a whole other level. Like, what was your reaction to hearing what was transcending there?
Well, shock, number one. I was very fortunate. We were very fortunate that a family member was visiting my mother at the time, and quickly, escorted the man away, who I might say looked like he was a bank manager in a suit, tie, wingtips, you name it. But I was livid, shocked, scared. Number one, very, very fearful. My mom lives on her own. She lived on her own then, and she lives on her own now. Very independent woman. Also a little sad because I knew that things were changing for her, that this happened because this person was able to retrieve some information that we did not believe she would have given out.
Those words, scared, shocked, sad. I know you had some other ones as well, but the point of it is that's not fun for anybody. And there are a crazy amount of these attempted crimes going on every day now. I mean, I know that I've had grandparents and I've got close friends and family members whose grandparent, well, some of those share the same grandparent, but who have been affected by this as well. And sometimes it actually can result in serious financial loss as well as the emotional damage of it as well, and it does leave you scared and shocked. And do you know how widespread scams like this, scam calls, and the impact of that is kind of yeah, on a yearly basis?
Within 2021, there were billions, B, billions, lost to scams in the United States alone. Scams are done worldwide, but the United States is definitely a main target for it. My research and just getting into this and finding out some information, it's the very young, teenagers, and the very old that the scammers really start targeting on. Everybody in between, we're vulnerable, but those are the prime targets for them.
Hmm. I get and totally expected that it's often the elderly that are attacked, and you hear about elderly crime and how common it is. Why do you think the young the young people are targeted as well?
Well, I think that, they give us stories about quick money or certain things that the young people would want and could find available. I'm not going to get this right, but maybe a PS7 was really popular last year or the year before.
I have no idea, so I think you're exactly right.
And I've heard of, some young people getting calls about, they put online that we're looking for it, and people are calling them saying, "Oh, yeah, we have one, put the money, I'll send it to you." So, young people, as much as they're savvy, and they also have a high degree of wanting things instantly and as quickly as they can get it. So, they are susceptible, as we all are. I mean, I just don't want to point them out, but the numbers, the information says that those two demographics are really targeted.
So let's get to answer sure, which, by the way, personally, do you say sure or sure? Because I've heard it from both ways. From everybody says it differently, I feel like.
Answer sure.
Sure. Perfect. All right. What were your first steps in actually starting the business?
A lot of research because this is not my background. I don't have a securities background. I knew what I was looking for in the sense of I wanted a barrier. I didn't want my mother's phone to ring if it wasn't for her. So I did a lot of research about scams, all types of scams, particularly phone scams. So I had some idea and could really speak about it a little bit anyway. After that, I took pen to paper and wrote out what my ideal scenario was. Since I couldn't find it, I was thinking, how can I create it? And really, speaking to quite a few people, my husband included, to get some seeds of advice and ideas. And I got the shell of it, and I just started saying, okay, what do I need to have a call service? And that's pretty, and I won't say easy, but the steps are there online. Okay, what other things are needed to create this barrier? And it was really one thing. I hate the word organic, but it was really organic. It was, I learned and then found information, learned more things, found some more information. So it grew from just being curious and wanting to get something in place.
What aspect? So, like, there's a whole that's a tongue twister. There's a whole world you can Google now, and I think that's a beautiful thing as a new entrepreneur. Is I think you went about it in such the right way of like, okay, what's next? Let me dive in and learn about this, and let's knock it out. And okay, on to the next thing. So that's a great way to do it. Of those different aspects, like you mentioned, the call service, there's plenty of other aspects in there. Which one would you say has had the biggest learning curve?
That's a great question. The call center. The call center. That's something, I never set one up. I knew they existed, but to set one up was, yeah, it took some doing. Also, On the telephone service, because part of our service is a landline service, they still exist. Many people have them. There are tens
Read
of
my mind.
millions of landlines out there, and most of them are owned by older people. Learning the capabilities of what I could do with those parameters. I can't change the telephone. What the telephone does, that's it. I got to work within that. So those two components were the biggest learning curves for me.
Hey, you never know. Everything comes back into style. I mean, 20, 30 years from now, landlines might, who cares about cell phones? We have landlines again. So, you never know.
And Max, I got to tell you, I'm with you. The population is getting older, and that is something that at least today, for our older citizens, they're very secure with landlines. So who's to say?
Right. Yeah. And there's something to be said about something being, like hard connected. Like as we speak right now, like I do all my remote interviews these days plugged in via hardwired Ethernet. And it's just more dependable than, remote Wi-Fi far away from the router, obviously. But so you segued swimmingly for us. You mentioned landline, you mentioned mobile. So exactly, can you break down what services you offer with AnswerSure?
Sure. With AnswerSure, we have two landline plans, two services. One is a representative service, like its name, a human being. You'll be interacting with a human being. And the other is our automated service, which is done electronically by a numeric code. We also have the AnswerSure app, which works like many apps out there that try to help with this crime. That's what it is. However, with our app, we have two features that I think adds a little bit more utility to it, in that we have remote subscribing, meaning one person could purchase and place the apps on multiple phones, and only the purchaser needs a login or password. And we also have communication. That in our research, we found that these two things, the people forgetting their login and password, was a main factor and an issue. And also, people with such apps like ours, they complained that they couldn't speak to anyone, or they couldn't reach out to anyone. There was no kind of communication with, if there was something they wanted to say, get to the app company. So we have a survey form of communication, which our app users receive a survey, they can reply, we get it in real time. It's not as open as like sending an email and getting an email back. However, it does offer some communication that we can learn what we're doing right, what we're not doing right, also hear from our clients directly.
Can you walk us through? Let's talk about from the cell phone slash smartphone lens. If I'm a AnswerSure user or slash subscriber slash customer, I'll stop with the slashes. I don't know why I'm doing that so much. But if I'm one of your customers and someone tries to call me, or maybe it's a robocall, attempting to scam me, what does that look like? What does the barrier look like there?
Barrier is millions of known scam robocalls. We'll put it under the umbrella of scam numbers that are known, that we have a database that we use. It's a dynamic database. It's live in the sense that new numbers are added to it every day. Those numbers cannot ring your cell phone. Now, that's not saying that every spam number is in that list. So, this is the issue with these apps. Numbers are infinite. So, as much as you can have millions, billions of known scam numbers, there's still scam numbers out there that we don't have. That's why it's dynamic. So it's adding to it nonstop. You have client, your call is coming in from any of those numbers, it will not ring your phone. Period. It won't say scam, or it just won't ring your phone. A number that comes in from a scam number that we have not yet retrieved, It will, and it most likely will have scam or spam that comes up on your phone like it would normally do. What we also offer is the ability for the client to utilize our spoofing, which is these scammers know that people are more readily willing to pick up a call that looks similar to their own phone number. Could be a local call. Most people think it's a local call in my neighborhood. With spoofing, those calls, unfortunately, are scam a lot of times. So on the Answer Shore app, you can turn on, and we give the client the ability to turn off or on the spoofing. You can block some people in your own contact list if you choose to. With Android, you could block everybody except getting a call from your contact list, which I wish iOS would do that, but they don't. They won't allow you to do that. A call comes in, we don't have it on our list. You see spam. That number then becomes part of our list. That number will not ring again on your phone. I have to be transparent to say the app will not 100% curtail any scam or spam from coming to your phone. I can't say that. I can't say that. I don't know if anyone can say that, but I can't say that for Answer Sure. But what it does is definitely those millions and billions of phone numbers that are known, they won't ring your phone. And that list is always being updated. So that's how the app works.
I thought you were going to be able to stop 110% of these attempts.
No,
so it's a little no. There's never a way to completely do it. But I think what you've come up with is a great way, and there's many different prongs of it, which are exactly what you sought out to do, which are barriers. And so if I'm on the receiving end of these scam attempts and they either can't get to me or they're instantly clearly identified as somebody that's like, yeah, don't talk to this person. That's a huge help, and it could save people a lot of time and money and emotional energy there.
I hope that's what I was trying to do. Tell you the truth.
How much of your business at the time of this recording is the representative side versus the automatic or app side?
I have to say the representative side is really the arm of the business that has grown the most and really garners the most interest. Again, I'm targeting everyone because I think we're all vulnerable. However, older people are a little more vulnerable than the rest of us. With the representative plan, if I may just go into how that works a little bit and why it seems to be the area that people go to first. The client, and both for the representative plan and the automated plan, the landline phone, the client needs to secure a secondary line. Technology does not exist currently where you can forward a phone and receive a call on that same line. So you need to have a secondary line. You get that from your telephone carrier. With that, the client would forward their phone to the Answer Shore call center, making every call that's going to be answered that comes in for them will be answered by the Answer Shore call center. The individualized part of this piece when it comes to the landline, the client creates a password. Whatever their password is, they create it, and they let Answer Shore know what that password is. The calls come in. Good afternoon. You've reached Answer Shore. To whom would you like to speak? I'd like to speak to Max. Oh, sure. Here, you have Max's password. Oh, no, I don't. All right, no problem. I'll take a message, and we'll get this message to Max. The representative plan offers the utility of messages being taken, and those messages are sent to the purchaser of the plan. If the person knew the password, Hold on one moment. Let me put you through the max. That call would come and it would ring your phone. So with the landline service plans that we have, your phone is only going to ring once the call is vetted. So you know it's really for you. So that's how the representative plan works.
It's such a just comforting thought to know that someone is like on your side and literally can, stop these people in their tracks before it even gets to you, which is so nice because I think so much of why this happens in the first place, like successful scams from the scammer standpoint, is because they got quick and direct communication to their target and were able to convince them of something or make them, feel nervous about something in such a quick time period. And the fact of being able to stop that in its tracks and have a live person on your side to do it is so nice.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And you're
Of course.
right. That's exactly how they get people, the sense of urgency and trauma. When they get people on the line, they start with that and they do it intentionally to get people, really flustered.
Now looking back, since you first had the inkling of the idea for Answer Sure, what would you say is an approach you've taken that has been the most valuable as an entrepreneur?
Not taking no as the answer, as an answer. There's always a way. There is always a way. If I could say something 100%, there is always a way. So I found I'm very tenacious. That's just part of my DNA anyway. But I definitely have become more so with this, with Answer Sure. But that's something that I feel I've learned and I've grown.
So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get to more you as a business owner, but also, outside of work on the personal side, how you stay inspired, how you stay creative. So first of all, what do you do in your free time? Which I know there's not much when you're starting a business, but what do you do in your free time to help kind of clear your mind and help you stay fresh and creative?
I'm a walker. I love to walk. I love to be out in nature. I know it's getting cold, but jacket and earmuffs soon. I love my family. I hang out with my family a lot. They're some of the smartest, wittiest people I know. I come from a family of really very entrepreneurial thinking in their approach to things. Well, why not? That's, if not now, when? Those kind of. So they are a great inspiration. They help me to stay focused, but also to give me the self belief in continuing to move forward.
That's an amazing support system to have when
Yes,
when you're encouraged as opposed to the focusing on the negative. That's
absolutely.
super inspiring for entrepreneur anybody. Besides Google, which obviously can be any aspiring entrepreneur's best friend, is there a site or maybe a person, somebody or something that's been invaluable to you in terms of your research for learning about all this, all these scams and everything you've looked up as part of the business?
My mom, because well, it was created for her. I really I could be very honest with you. I wasn't looking to start a business. I was looking to protect my mother. So this was created to protect her. So I needed her input on how it was working and I needed to tweak maybe some things, but it was invaluable because first of all, she's my mother. She's going to tell me the truth. And it worked. That's number 1. Number 2 is I listened to podcasts. There were some podcasts out there, and one in particular, and I'm not going to say his name correctly.
Max Brandstetter.
No, I didn't listen to you then. Oh gosh,
Thank you.
this was years ago. Um,
I was there
I
years ago.
listened. It was a podcast. It's like a Market Watch. They had a series. It was a series on this podcast called "The Age of Fraud." And it went in depth. They showed people that were victims. It was sad, enlightening, also really enraging. It kind of gave me the shot in the arm. People are really destroying lives, not just the victims, but the victims' families, seniors, retirees. They worked all their lives, and here comes someone and swoops and takes out their whole life savings. It was just infuriating. Anyway, on this podcast, they also had a part of their series called Brains and Losses, which equated age with a different way of thinking, being a little bit more trusting as we get older. And after I heard that podcast is when, I knew I didn't want the phone to ring. I didn't want to put the onus on my mother anymore to, look at a caller ID and decipher if she knew the number. But I really got validation that, you know what? We have to put a barrier. We cannot just say, oh, let the phone ring and they'll decide. I have to put a barrier that if it's not for my client, their phone should not ring, period. Because cognitively, through this podcast, I learned, yeah, there's a physiological thing that happens to the brain as we get older. It's not their fault.
Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
I'm getting ready. Yes, ready.
All right. Get ready. Well, we're doing some jumping jacks. But let's get wild. What is the most common scam that you hear about?
The grandparent scam. Yeah. That scam, someone is calling and they're frantic, saying your grandchild, sometimes they have a name, sometimes they don't. Your grandchild is in the hospital, they're in jail, they're in another country, and they need $300,000 of dollars to get out. And the grandparent goes off and buys all these, money cards and sends it. The grandparent scam.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is terrible.
And sometimes you think, for somebody who uses, email a lot or gets a lot of calls, like for some people it might be like, oh, this is an obvious scam, but for some people it might not be so obvious. So you really got to be careful. What is I call them weird talents, but it could be viewed as a party trick or just something that you're really good at, but it really doesn't affect your business. It's just like, hey, I'm actually pretty good at that.
In my past life, I was a fundraiser. And I raised money for other people and organizations. I was pretty good at that. I would say raising money for organizations or other people. I'm not good at raising it for myself, though. But
Well, I was going to say that's a good trait to have, and it opens a lot of doors for people. But also if you're ever in that situation as a business owner, it's a fantastic trait to have if you want to go that route. So
I know.
that's just great. What is the best thing or short quote that you ever heard from a customer about your business?
That it's given me peace of mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just got like a warm feeling rush over me when you said that. That's so nice.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
that was
it
really
makes
good.
it even more rewarding.
Yes.
And then last one, what would be your dream place to walk? Just for like a quick morning walk or whatever your routine is.
A beach in the Maldives. Yeah.
That sounds very nice. Awesome. No hesitation. I love it. Well, Gogie, thank you so much. This has been fantastic, and I really, really appreciate all you do. And I think what you said kind of in that inspiration segment really struck me is you're not somebody that was going out and we're like, all right, I'm going to start a business no matter what. It was kind of the opposite of, all right, I want to protect my mom. And there's lots of other people out there that have been in situations like this as well. And I want to protect them. You use it yourself. That's an extremely organic way to start a business. So I'm fired up just hearing about that. So thanks again for coming on. And where's the best place for people to learn about and sign up for Answer Sure, as well as if they want to get in contact with you personally?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Max. That was very nice. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Our website, it's the best place to really gather the information about us and how to move forward, is answershore.com, www.answershore.com. We have a phone number. People told me, oh, don't get a phone number. I believe in a phone number, and a human being will pick up the phone.
You need to. Absolutely. Yeah.
At 732-702-0949. 0010, and an email, which I will get the email. No one else. It's contact@answersure.com.
Perfect. And then last thing here, final thoughts. It could be just little words of wisdom to live by, or you could sing your favorite song you listen to while you walk. No, I'm just kidding. Send us home here.
You know what? A friend told me something, and it's rung in my ear for the last 3 years. I'm betting on myself. Bet on yourself. As long as it's something you really want to do, go for it.
Bet on yourself and bet on Gogie. Gogie, thank you so much for sharing your surely wonderful Answer Sure story and all the tips in building the business, finding research, all your stories and tips and wonderful entrepreneurship lessons. And thank you, Wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite app and tell a friend about the podcast. You can also find us on Good Pods, where there are some pretty good podcasts. And for any help with podcast production, you can learn more at maxpodcasting.com and sign up for the Podcasting to the Max newsletter at maxpodcasting.com/newsletter. Until next time, which actually won't be next week because Dana and I, as I mentioned, are getting married. We are going, not full honeymoon right away. That will be next summer, but a bit of a mini moon right after. So taking a week off from the podcast after that. And then we will get back to our regularly scheduled and wild programming. But and we'll be married people. Until next time, though, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!